Okay, welcome to a special episode of the live stream of goRIA. I'm Chuck Vela, and for the next couple of days, I will be recording and broadcasting live at the FPA National here in Phoenix, Arizona. With me today, I've got Sonya Dreizler, the co-founder of goRIA. Sonya, thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here.
It's great to have you here. And before we get into the conversation, I just want to quickly thank our sponsor, LPL Financial. As I like to say, if you like them as a broker-dealer, you're going to love them as an RIA custodian, and we appreciate their support. Okay, so Sonya, let's talk DEI. I know that's what you're really known for. And before we get into the details and how we're going to tie DEI to goRIA, what is DEI and what have you been doing at goRIA to help promote that?
Well, DEI stands for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and goRIA is a diversity tech company. We have a platform that connects people of color, women, and non-binary professionals with conference organizers and journalists who are seeking their subject matter expertise. And we also work directly with conferences to help them improve representation on stage at financial services events.
That sounds good. So Let me ask you this, just to kind of start off again, kind of broadly, and then we'll pivot to the RIA space. How long have you been doing goRIA, by the way?
goRIA, we started working on goRIA in 2021, and we launched January 2022.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone loves rankings, right? So
What's that?
Everyone loves rankings.
Yes.
So let's, if you can, what would you give the wealth management industry on a scale of 1 to 10 as far as DEI 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and today?
Gosh, that's a tough question. On a
That's why they pay me the big bucks, Sonya.
All right. I'd say it really depends on what what piece you're looking for. But if you're thinking about representation in the wealth management space and how closely that aligns, say, to the U.S. population, I'd say the wealth management might be at maybe a 3 or
that's
4.
Today.
Really, 10 years, 5 years, and now it
hasn't changed much.
It has not changed very much.
That's what I was getting at. All right, interesting.
Yes, not a lot of change. Although there's been more talk about it and some small changes in the last few years, but not a lot of major change.
Okay, well,
I started in the wealth management industry at a broker-dealer, actually, a broker-dealer in RIA in 20-something years ago, and thought, well, there's not that many women here, but soon I'm sure that'll change. It really has not changed that much, even since I started, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the talking about it is the first step. I mean, we really try to have a lot of DEI, just what we're doing with investment news. And, part of what I do is locating the talent to speak with, like yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And the pool is not as diverse as I would like. I mean, it's not easy. And is that kind of what goRIA is doing, is helping perhaps people like us find them?
Indeed. That is one of the things that goRIA does. We have a platform that podcast hosts, for example, or journalists can search, and you search typically by topic, whatever topic you're wanting to, interview somebody about. And it comes up with all of everybody who has subject matter expertise in that area, and everybody who comes up is a person of color, woman, or non-binary professional.
That's fantastic.
So, yes, the pool is out there. The challenging part is that people's networks all throughout the United States, not necessarily just in financial services, but our networks in the United States tend to be very, very homogenous, racially homogenous, especially the networks of white folks. We tend to have very, very white networks. And so it can be, if the pool of potential folks is people and you've always had a homogenous network, it can be really hard to find more, a wider representation of talent. But it's out there.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a little work. And one of the things we do at goRIA is to try to make that easier so that folks can plug in and find all those experts.
All right, that sounds good. So we're goRIA,
Yep.
Right? I love the RIA space. I dropped my 7 in 24 about almost 5 years ago, and was one of the best decisions I ever made. But let's tie these together. Let's connect the dots, right? DEI and RIA. Do you feel the growth in the RIA space has helped, hurt, or has done nothing for DEI?
I don't know. I think the thing that I see, where I see them most closely tied together, is the I'd say easier opportunity to go to have your own solo shop,
Exactly.
as compared to, say, I don't know, 20 years ago. Um, the the possibility for having your own shop has made it easier for folks to leave companies where they don't feel supported. And I know a lot of financial planners who are people of color, women, and especially women of color, and I would say especially Black women, who run their own financial planning firms, either solo or small, or they've grown into large practices. And the impetus to start was not because they wanted to be an entrepreneur,
Mm.
not because they wanted to have their own RIA, but because they didn't feel included, they didn't feel welcome, or, I mean, even worse than that, there was, like, racism or just harassment, any of those kinds of things happening at their larger firms that they were at. And so they've they've left, and they've been very successful, but in a very different context than what probably a lot of people think of when they think of going independent. Going independent because you
Sure.
want to be your own boss or whatever it might be. They left because it really wasn't an option for them to stay and continue to to be themselves, to thrive, to be able to have a functional work environment. And so that's where I see the two intersecting.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's actually a really cool point. So if I'm understanding you correctly, these people that have started their own RIAs, perhaps if it was not for the fact there was some racism or some other issues that they were facing at their current firm or potential firms to join, they were kind of like, well, screw it, I'll just make my own. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes, although I would say probably for at least for a lot of the folks that I've spoken with, more reluctantly than that. Some people, of
Mm,
course, they have the entrepreneurial drive and that's what they want to do. But some people want to work at a firm with a community
right.
and benefits and a reliable paycheck and not take on the additional challenges of entrepreneurship. Of course, it comes with rewards, and I know that there's folks who like it now that they've done it, but they didn't they didn't have the same choice to do that. They did it because they were forced. So, well, almost forced. There
Yeah,
was
I
not
gotcha.
a welcome place for them, and so it's not the best way to start entrepreneurship. Um, to do it as a
As a need to, as opposed to want to.
exactly
Yeah,
that, and so
that's interesting point. Yeah,
but this particular business does allow that, right?
sure
You can
does.
take that skill, and if you have perhaps a spouse that has benefits that you can be on, right? Uh, there's all these complexities when you go out on your own, right?
Sure.
You need insurance in this country, right? So if you have some way to sort of structure so you can go out on your own, um, it is an off ramp from the racism or misogyny or whatever, or
Yeah,
both
yeah.
that you're facing at your firm.
I really like that concept. I hate that it has happened,
Yeah,
right? Obviously,
yeah,
but I love that there was an option,
yeah,
and I'm fascinated. I wouldn't say but I'm fascinated by this idea of the reluctant entrepreneur,
yeah,
which
yeah,
is kind of what you're describing. I
yeah,
think,
yeah,
like, I'm an entrepreneur. Like, I've never had a real job in my entire life. I
yep,
either reported directly to the owner of a small company or I owned a small company. I
yep,
have no idea how it is to be in a big corporation. I don't think I would like it.
yep,
So that's me.
yep,
But then what you're saying is there's some people that because of DEI issues, the firm they were with or ones that they wanted to join, they didn't feel comfortable at best, maybe even worse than that.
yeah,
They didn't want to start their own firm, but
right,
the RIA space gave them that opportunity for this reluctant entrepreneur to do so.
exactly.
Love it.
Yeah,
Again, don't love that it has to happen. Love that there was a channel to utilize.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Here's my follow-up question to
Yeah,
that. So
go for it.
these, let's call them pioneers, because it sounds like that's what they are.
Yeah,
Okay, these reluctant entrepreneurs. Are they now creating safe havens for other folks that are experiencing DEI issues that maybe those folks are not comfortable at their firms? they want to go to a DEI friendly organization, and these pioneers are now an oasis for those people. Is that happening?
Yeah, I think to a certain extent that's happening. Trying to think of all the different ones. Yes, absolutely, that's happening. I wish it were happening on a larger scale but by the nature of it, it's only been quite, easier to go fee only. I don't know, what would you say in the last 15-ish years? I've been out of the space for a while, but I would say like 15-ish years. So many people started to go fee only.
Yeah, I would say
break off
10,
on their
15
own.
years,
Yeah.
but really it's been that hockey stick over the past 2 to 4 years is what I would say.
Right. And so a lot of these reluctant entrepreneurs are still in early days of an RIA. So it's not like they're, 100-person firms. They're 2, 3, 4 and people firms, 10, 20 maybe. And so, yeah, absolutely. They are creating space like that, and they're hiring people in the way and training folks in the way that they want to, and
Love
creating
that.
more welcome environments. I wish that the larger firms were also welcome environments, but yes, these are great places to work, a lot of them.
You know what? And I believe this bad situation, and this is a hallmark for an entrepreneur, right? Taking a bad situation and turning it into something fantastic.
And they have so many of the folks that I know who
Yes.
are reluctant entrepreneurs are extraordinarily successful reluctant entrepreneurs.
Right. But now what they're doing is they're creating a space for other reluctant entrepreneurs to plug into.
Yep.
And the one thing I love about the RIA space, there's a lot of things I love about the RIA space, obviously. But I challenge the audience on this all the time. Name another industry that has such a low barrier to entry and such high upside potential. Right? You can have a laptop and a dream, and you're an RIA like that.
Yep.
So I really envision some of these reluctant entrepreneurs creating the next big firms. And as the generations go on, they're becoming more in tune with DEI. So if we're looking at those next gen clients, so maybe have Gen 1 client at a pretty non-DEI firm, and that money, those millions and trillions of dollars going on to Gen 2, they're looking for DEI. Guess who's going to be the beneficiary of those? Those reluctant entrepreneurs.
Yep.
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you have 1 or 2 firms you want to give a shout out to for other DEI folks looking to plug in somewhere?
Oh, well,
we'd love to put a spotlight on them.
I don't know if they are hiring, but if you want to look at firms that are doing great work, and I don't know that these are reluctant entrepreneurs. I don't want to put that name on them, but sure, I could plug Zenith Wealth Partners, 2050 Wealth Partners. This firm, they just changed their name. It used to be Grid 202, and I'm really sorry, Keith and Anna, I can't remember the new name. But great firm there too.
Love it.
In the more on the asset management side, Adesina, Ariel, that's a big one.
Sure, I was going to say I definitely know Ariel.
Yeah, and so I could go on it.
Well, I tell you what, you
could
chime in online afterwards. This will be posted.
Sounds
Feel free
good.
to tag some of these people, because one thing I love to do, and feel really grateful that I have this ability to put spotlight on what I think are good things, whether it's a good technology solution or just good people doing good things. I love doing it all day long. So I appreciate you doing that. So the last thing I'll say on this, and again, this is the whole idea of why the RIA space is so special. So if you're an advisor looking to go to a wirehouse, what do you have? 5 choices? 4 or 5 choices, right? If you're looking to go the independent broker-dealer route, maybe a dozen.
Yep.
But if you want to go...
Is it only a dozen now?
Give or take. I'm saying like the ones I can name off the top of my head, I could probably name 10 off the top of my head. I'm sure there's more, but the big players, we all know who they are.
Yeah. That's what I used to do. I was the CEO of an independent BD and RIA.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We could have a totally different...
That sounds like a whole nother episode.
But really, there's only 12? Sorry,
give or take.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
But the crescendo was, in the RIA space, there's hundreds of choices.
Yeah.
And some of these are going to be DEI well-established and friendly, and some not. And let the money choose. And I think that's going to help environmental issues. I think it's going to help DEI issues. As people become more and more aware of these things, the money will dictate who's going to win. And there definitely seems, at a minimum, to be a lot more talk about climate change, about DEI, about ESG. And change happens slowly, but
Mm-hmm.
it seems like it is changing. And thanks to people like you to put a spotlight on it, maybe that's a little accelerant to the good fire that is DEI.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right, that sounds like a good place to end it for today. Sonya Dreizler from goRIA, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good chatting with you.
You bet. And that's it for this particular mini live stream. And I'll be here again at FPA National in Phoenix today, tomorrow. We have a lot more great content coming up. And if you want to see the full podcast that this will evolve into in about a week or two, simply go to investmentnews.com. On the upper right-hand side, you'll see a little tab that says goRIA. Click that, and you'll see this live stream being rebroadcast. Some podcasts, webcasts, a lot of great content. If you're looking to go RIA, we are looking to be your one-stop resource for all things you're going to want to know. So on behalf of goRIA, fueled by Investment News, I'm Chuck Philip, and thanks a lot for joining us. We'll see you in a couple of hours for our next one. Take care.